Welcome everyone to our next James Bond film commentary, filled with stunning locations, gigantic action sequences, and a massive bloated cast. Welcome to Casino Royale 1967.
I don't think Matt Mikkelsen is supposed to be in this one.
Welcome to the gigantic bloated mess that is the 60s Casino Royale movie. Now, I'll sum up the history of how this film came to be quickly right now, because otherwise I'll be talking throughout the intro. Casino Royale film gets made into that TV show that we did. Nothing came of it. The rights passed to someone else. He died. His widow gave the rights to their agent/friend, Charles K. Feldman, who was also a film producer. He recently produced What's New Pussycat, and he decided to make this a actual film on its own. He tried to partner up with Eon, the official Bond filmmakers, but when he apparently asked for too much of the box office profits, they said no. So he decided to go on his own and make a spoof movie, because...
Why not?
Why not? It was 1967, the height of Bond mania. There was all these weird Bond knockoffs popping up and around that time. And then it's even better because he actually has the rights to a book. He's barely going to use any of it, but still.
Okay, just to check, the James Bond lineage of films that we are currently commentating, those were happening around the time this movie was made, correct?
Yes. This film, aside from having Bond in it, has nothing to do with the official films.
Just remember, the Bond the official Bond movie series basically spans through a good chunk of cinema history, believe it or not.
I'm wondering how did they pull this off, legally speaking?
They had the rights to the book, remember?
They already had the book, remember?
Right,
when Fleming gave the book rights to Eon, it didn't include Casino Royale, since he'd already sold it off to CBS long before this one, and for a whole bunch of legal weavings, we got this.
God, is Casino Royale like the Sonic Adventure 2 of James Bond or something?
It's one of the more popular and overly referenced James Bond stories for a very good reasons, like the setting or the villain.
I'll get more into the crazy behind-the-scenes-ness of this movie as we go on, because there is a lot to digest. So now to start, before the MGM logo, since they acquired the rights in the meantime. 3, 2, 1, go.
You forgot, Joe, the initial parody beat where we see Ratchet & Clank 3, that is also a spoof of Casino Royale.
I love the irony that this is under MGM, the same studio that would hold the rights to the actual James Bond lineage of films.
Well, originally, Joe, this film was released by Columbia Pictures.
Oh, I know, but that's why it's ironic. They would later end up to be under the same umbrella as James Bond official. So from what I see, this is officially listed as a spy parody film. So was this them basically taking the piss out of James Bond because screw you for not letting me have the proper license?
Yeah, I guess you can
say that.
He
had the proper license. He just chose to do this instead.
Yes, and yes, as you can see, we have a star cast in this. Peter Sellers, who you may remember from Dr. Strangelove. Ursula Andress, who you may remember has the Bond girl from the first Bond movie.
I know this guy, actually, David Niven.
Ursula Andress from the first Bond movie.
Orson Welles.
David Niven, the original choice for Bond. Orson Welles.
Yes, Orson Welles is in this for some reason. And Woody Allen is also in this too, because why not?
I'm sorry, this appears to be James Bond on the Yellow Submarine.
Remember, end of 60s, so even the animation on the credits wanted to reflect the fact that we are about to enter the Dark Age.
Terrence Cooper.
Alright.
I mean, this is such a weird musical choice. This sounds like a prototype for the disco era instead of an actual James Bond.
Which is weird because it's 1967. We weren't quite in the 70s yet.
I know. It's like this feels like the 70s were just waiting to burst in.
Also, Richard Williams Okay, great.
All right. Now this film.
The director of Fever and the Cobbler, Jova.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now this film had the brilliant idea to have 5 different directors for the movie.
Oh man.
Oh no. Well, okay, is it in the sense where they had like different segments and like each director did a segment?
Well, apparently that wasn't the original plan. It was a combination of either the director had enough of the shit that was going on set, or other things that happened.
I have to say
we'll come
that.
to the directors in a second.
I have to mention this. What a specific credit. Makeup for Ursula Andress. So, yeah, they have to specify that person did specifically the makeup
Suggested
for Ursula
by the novel
Andress.
Casino Royale.
Right. Yeah, I love how they have to specify that this specific person did the makeup for Ursula Andress specifically. They have to specify that for some reason.
Also, oh wow, that woman's name is literally Val Guest.
Val Guest is a guy.
I feel like I'm watching a Monty Python spoof of Bond.
Also, I should mention actually, this film had 6 directors actually, but one of them didn't want to be credited.
Wow.
So basically,
oh no, they went the Alan Smithy route.
So as you can imagine, with this, one of the big problems of this movie is exactly that: too many cooks in the kitchen.
So
later on, the producer Feldman tried to spin it in the press as, "Oh no, we're not just having multiple Bonds; we're also having multiple directors."
Wait.
When actually, what happened was when. We'll get to that. That's the premise of the movie. But yeah, it was a lot of directors pieced out of the making of this movie.
So what you're saying is that we have a little Nemo case.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. Yeah, because that was such a great sign with Little Nemo. I'm sure this movie would be great.
Also, interesting enough, I actually did see this movie once. But I was like 10, 11, because a part of the movie collection that my grandparents had, they have every single James Bond movie, including all of the bootlegs, including this one. So it was this one, but I forgot most of it, so I might as well. The only thing that I know from, behind the scenes stuff is that Peter Sellers was not particularly happy because he was expecting to be in a serious movie.
That's a lion.
Multiple. Jova, have you put roar again?
Did Leo okay? Hold on. Did Morticia leave Leo out of this mansion?
Are we
again?
like in the Layton universe where the British countryside can have stuff like lions roaming around?
Given that this movie was made before Roar, that would mean this was made before certain rules against animals usage in films was a thing. So. Well, okay, to their credit, it seems like they're doing the equivalent of one of those safari drives,
yeah.
I hope.
This is actually where James Bond lives.
In a place filled with lions.
Of course, he does that stereotypical thing that white people do, domesticating lions and all that stuff. Domesticating many creatures from Africa is the white man's motto.
It's like that that character from Sam Max Hit the Road. Cause I'm happy
and
to be
so here is what I'll call in the movie to help Sir James Bond, played by David Niven.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually seen a couple of movies with him, so I'm very used to him.
Usually when it comes to Bond actors, a lot of people tend to forget about this one.
The thing I find funny is, okay, how much were they serious about this being a parody of James Bond as opposed to the real thing?
I can't remember all the details off the top of my head, but this film originally had like just a $6 million budget. At the time, I mean, it was a lot still, but it was around about reasonable for the time. However, because of all that was going on in the movie, the film's budget doubled to $12 million.
Which for the time it was considerably high.
So, okay, assuming they really wanted to make this a parody, why would you only title the film Casino Royale?
Because he had the rights to it. I
get that, but if you just call it Casino Royale, might not fans of the book be
I'm
going
pretty
in
sure maybe
expecting
the
a straight
trailers.
story?
Okay, the
Well,
poster.
don't worry, Joe. The title earlier said it wasn't adapted from the material. It was suggested by the material.
Also, I'm pretty
In the
sure.
opening credits, after people would have paid tickets to
Again,
see
I'm
it.
pretty sure two things. One, the trailer might have said something. Also, the movie poster that we're using for the thumbnail might still mislead because it has the traditional, Bond woman in a seductive pose in a serious context. But the text says Casino Royale is too much, three dots, for one James Bond. So that probably
And,
tells you something.
And an interesting move. Sir James has been retired for the past 20 years. So, in order to keep their enemies fearful, MI6 decided to have his replacement also be called James Bond 007.
Wait, so all these guys are James Bonds?
No, his successor.
Remember,
was
Joe,
James
they
Bond.
introduced themselves as leaders of different special secret services from
Yeah,
around the
yeah,
world.
yeah. Yeah, I
Look,
get that. So when are we
the
supposed to
M's
meet the other
equivalent.
Bonds?
I don't understand. MI6 doesn't change the agent's actual name. They just change their code number, as in 00 something.
Your
Like,
Alright.
question, Jova, later.
All right, just to get this out of the way, how much of this is, basically just a parody of Casino Royale? Like, in the sense where, does this more or less adapt the story of Casino Royale? Or is this more just, it gave it the Casino Royale title, and it's basically a pastiche of James Bond altogether, kind of like a Seltzer and Freebird compilation of all their parodies?
Both, pretty much. Because all of their agents are dropping like spies as a result of their enemy, they need Sir James to come out of retirement.
Yes, Solid Snake, we need you once again for one last mission.
And I guess I'll just ask more. I'm guessing, so was the retirement also a thing in Casino Royale?
No.
The original? Okay.
No.
Part of me kind of really wish that one time Kojima actually did a complete parody game of one of his titles.
The whole KGB is depleted.
I get the idea
So
he could be able to pull it off.
So the takeaway I get is that essentially this is an aged-up James Bond, I'm guessing probably to suit better the role of Peter Sellers, so wacky hijinks will ensue when he has to get back in the job.
No, this is the actual James
Remember,
Bond.
David Niven, not Peter Sellers. You can tell because he was one of the few people who could actually rock the pencil theme mustache, and I don't know how.
Some people just need the right face. It's weird, though, because Peter Sellers has top billing in this movie, but...
we'll get to Peter Sellers later on.
Well, he's the most... he was the most famous actor in here.
At the time, yeah.
All right. I guess I should probably keep myself from getting too confused and just take this movie as it goes. But I'll admit, the concept of the movie itself confuses me, so... It's supposedly a parody, and granted, maybe this is just from the style of filming at the time, but I'm not really getting the comedy so far, if this is meant to be parody. Get it? James Bond was even into the infamous spy Mata Hari.
Invitational for Smash, you got it wrong. James Bond was supposed to actually be in PlayStation Stars Battle Royale.
God, I remember when the argument was made that technically the James Bond in GoldenEye is a video game original James Bond.
Right, okay, so because Bond won't come back, M decides to do this.
Okay.
The John Wick 2 way.
They bomb his house.
Okay, that was kind of funny.
However, M's plan kind of goes tits up because he's killed.
Oops.
Oh wait, Bond gets killed off screen. Damn.
No. John Huston's character here, he gets killed
Oh.
by his own orders because I
He-
guess
he-
John Huston wasn't as comfortable in front of the camera as he was behind it.
So, while I'm familiar with the concept of James Bond, I've made it no secret I'm not a big James Bond fan. So, how is this movie regarded amongst the James Bond community?
Quite poorly.
Ooh.
It also killed the Bond, the spy agent spoof until Austin Powers showed up. So, like,
Wasn't there that
25
Italian knockoff
25
too?
well, that I think did OK Connery came before or after these lives?
Sorry?
Did OK Connery came before or after these? I forgot.
Same year.
Okay.
When exactly, I don't know.
But basically,
Huh.
Joe, it took 25 years before someone tried again.
Uh-huh.
Okay, initially, when Feldman was getting the idea to make this movie, he actually had the balls to approach Sean Connery to play Bond. But that was the point where Connery was kind of starting to not like doing the role. So he said he'd only do the movie for $1 million.
So yeah, that's a no.
That's when Feldman decided to go to Peter Sellers, who accepted the role for $1 million.
Wait, what? Way to negotiate?
And a Rolls Royce, apparently.
So arguably even more than what Connery asked for.
Then why didn't you just get Connery to do it then?
You ask me, I don't know.
Everything about this movie is baffling me, even the development.
Oh, this
try-
joke here.
Ah! You had a good joke with M getting blown up, and already you're piling on bad jokes.
Trust me, Jova, like the Bond community generally just tends to just mostly
What
just
the
kind of
fuck? I'm pretty
Why
sure that's
is-
a real goat that they tied the poor fucker. I hope
Why is this in-
There you go.
I hope at least it tastes deliciously, I guess.
And now you know why I hate this movie. Animal cruelty.
These days you could just bomb the shit out of a group of animals and get away with it.
So basically, Jova, as you can see, the Bond fans typically prefer to just forget this thing even exists.
Yeah, in terms of Bond parodies, it looks like I'm best off just sticking with Austin Powers, thank you very much. But okay, to be fair, we're only 15 minutes in. Maybe it picks up somehow. Like, okay. I have to wonder, did the guy behind this make this a parody because he was mad that most Bond films had already been taken by the lineage that was going on at the time? Like,
I don't know.
He really.
that being said, I think we're I get it. M's dead. Did we really need this whole funeral scene for it?
But
David
Jova,
Niven.
Well-
the hilarity of all the taxidermied animals, Jova.
Now, okay, well, as the mysterious villain said earlier, they're going to do Smirsh Plan B, which is basically take Bond's celibate image and trash it.
Bond and celibate are two words that do
Again,
not
it's
belong
probably
in the
because
same
of a parody
sentence.
sake. Also, there was a more subtle joke, but I kind of like the pair of bull horns on top of the room, and this is basically their plan is to frame him for cheating. So that's
I
kind of
thought
cute.
the bullhorns joke was supposed to imply that they're in good old America.
Well, not
No,
just
they're
that.
in
It's the whole
Scotland.
taxidermy thing, technically, But there's the extra layer of the symbol of cheating.
So
Jesus.
why is he taking up residence in M's Hall instead
Are
of
we
getting
in
on with the
Evil Dead
mission?
2? Are we gonna start laughing?
Yeah, the music was done by Burt Bacharach, a guy whose music I haven't heard outside of this movie.
I'm pretty sure this movie torpedoed the career of a bunch of people.
Well, I mean, it certainly killed Peter Sellers' career dead for a while. All right, so Bond's about to go to the bath.
Are you supposed to be M's daughter?
Well, okay, here's the thing, Jova. Everyone in this castle, aside from Bond himself, is an undercover Smurfs agent. They replaced all of M's relatives.
Oh, of course. But the implication seems to be that she is M's daughter, at least in the terms of the role that she's playing. In which case, from Bond's perspective, isn't this kind of like your best friend's girl hitting on you? Rubbing up against you? Naked?
And yeah, he actually seems quite terrified. Normally, the Bond of the other movies would be all over this, but no, here he's quite scared.
So is the joke that he actually is a celibate and everyone just thinks he's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
Casanova because people want him?
Exactly.
Which is weird then. If everyone thinks he's a horn dog, how did he get the image of being a celibate then?
Well, everyone's into him, but he's not.
Eh.
Mm-hmm.
So is there like a British word pun on the name Smirsh?
Well, they couldn't use Spectre, so
Oh, I get that, but Smirsh, like the only... Oh, wait, right, yeah, the umbrella organization for the Red Army. First time for everything.
Oh man.
and now we're in what the audience are probably going to be at the end of the movie.
Drunk?
No alcohol today. Sorry. Oh.
Okay, I'm curious. What does this actually have to do with James Bond's mission, though? Like, I know
Well, no,
that
he was here to pay respects to M at his funeral.
They basically told him to stay. Kind of, it's the equivalent of an Irish wake.
But now he's in the middle of this plan by Smurfs to discredit his celibate image.
That'll absolutely destroy him because I mean, he's a spy.
Because shut up, that's why.
He's a spy. Spies typically don't even have to worry about reputation.
Oh man.
I thought the whole point of secret spies is that they're not supposed to have a reputation. Doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose?
If anything, that's the joke this movie should have gone on. The fact that James Bond is, well, famous in the movies, but that defeats the purpose of his job as super spy. Also, they all couldn't hold their ale.
It feels like they're trying to make a Monty Python-esque parody, but they suck at it.
And you don't even make James Bond having a one-liner for that. Like, this is supposed to be a parody. Come on, say something.
Wait.
That's so fucking weak.
There is your one. Okay, Theo, sorry, Theo. That's the best one-liner we've got,
2
I
out
guess.
of 10.
Look, I'm not saying every movie needs to have super action, but usually by this point in a James Bond movie, we would at least have one action scene.
Oh no, we'll get action scenes. Kind
I don't know what I mean is like this movie's kind of taking its time getting to the good
Action
stuff.
sequences.
Like the most interesting thing we've seen so far is M getting himself blown up. Which I'm still a bit confused how that worked. Like M was pretty close to Bond, but somehow only M ended up dead when the explosion hit.
I'm also trying to think. Okay, outside of Doctor Strangelove, what were the most famous comedies released around this time in movie format?
I can. Well, this was the '60s. The '60s were the age of camp in Hollywood, so I'm pretty sure you can find a good number of them.
So, do we ever find the real Fiona McTerry?
No.
So she's just gone off screen. Your favorite, Dwibs?
I mean, she never appeared on screen in the first place, so...
Lady not appearing in this title.
So yeah, this is Deborah Kerr playing Agent Mimi, aka impersonating Lady Fiona McTerry. Apparently, she was only meant to be in the movie as like a cameo that she would film over not very long. She apparently ended up being there for quite a while.
Okay, writers of this movie, let me explain something to you about parody. Okay, when you're parodying something, you usually exaggerate something in said source material to the point of ridiculousness. That's kind of the whole point of a parody, right? Bond not accepting sex with a woman, that's not parody. That's just out of character writing. That's not parody.
It also can cross into the bad territory of double standards of sexual assault.
Let's see. What did Roger Ebert have to say about this movie? Roger Ebert, in his review for the Chicago Sun-Times, wrote, "This is possibly the most indulgent film ever made." Okay. Time magazine described Casino Royale as an incoherent and vulgar vaudeville. What?
They're going to play Wassail, a Scottish Highland game which involves tossing that really heavy ball back and forth until one keels over.
Okay.
I'm guessing the idea is to
the
have
proud
it
Scottish
kill.
tradition. If only Shearer was here I could ask Alice if she knew about something about this.
Hey, Dwayne, remember when in James Bond, he's in any of the Bond, remember all those Bond movies, Dwayne, where he gets forced into playing a sport?
I can think of a couple in later ones where he does that, like what's the name?
No, he plays sports, but the idea here is that the villains are forcing him to play a sport.
Again, the closest I'm thinking of is the fencing scene in the last Pierce Brosnan movie.
Oh, the Diner Day.
Unfortunately for Mimi, these Smurfs agents are rubbish at...
I'm guessing you have to actually be Scottish to be that
My
strong.
God, this guy's turning into a pepper. You okay,
this
man?
Movie, it's not just the writing. The movie has no understanding of comedic timing. Like, in order for that to be funny, you should have had really loud bone snapping sound effects, something like that. Like, have the actor make a really over the top face. Like this is such a lazy parody.
Okay, I need to. Ooh, right in the. Yeah, Jesus.
I hope that those Warsaws aren't as actually heavy as they
I'm pretty
look.
sure it was cholesterol, so they just pretended. That's usually the trick with rocks in movies. Or maybe it's a bowling ball, I don't know. Pedro, you're the Looney Tunes more expert. By this point, 67, were there at least a couple of shorts that parodied James Bond?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, it's important to remember that the 60s, this was around the time that the Termite Terrace was basically in its last legs.
And now maybe he's in love with Sir James.
Okay, to be fair, that's a typical trope. The femme fatale who is wooed
I get the
Bob.
joke, he did nothing and he's still very impressed. I get it.
Well, I mean, he beat a bunch of guys in Wassel. I mean, they kind of beat themselves for the most part, but still.
Okay, kind of like they've been even, trying to oversell this moment. I'm not used to see him. He's used for British comedies. I've seen him in a couple of them, but
apparently he is stronger than he looks, since he was just able to karate chop it in half. So I'm confused. What's the joke? That he's stronger than he looks because he was able to karate chop a Vassal in half?
The joke, apparently, is that Mimi is so enamored by Bond's strength that she falls in love with him.
Also, this is the 60s, so it's a Volkswagen, truck.
Also, too, never mind. I guess they didn't get around to making it. They made a lot of Dick Tracy parodies.
Yeah, I think there was also a parody of what it's called. I'll check the title in the meantime later.
The funny thing is that the actress is actually Scottish, so when she's acting as Scottish, she's just using her natural accent.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I need to remember when the parody short of Dragnet was made. Rocket Squad. Let's see.
Okay, so she was locked in the room because her fellow Smurf agents felt they couldn't trust her now because she fell in love, but now she's got this wacky escape going on.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, Rocket Squad was in 1956, so I guess that's the closest we got. That was spoofing Dragnet. That was more of a police procedural war rather than secret agent.
This music is weird. Like, I get it, it's for a more upbeat and whimsical venture, but it doesn't necessarily fit comedy, if you get what I mean. It sounds like something I'd hear in one of the many, many, many Scooby-Doo clones that Hanna-Barbera aired.
Jesus.
Also, even though this takes place in Scotland, this particular sequence was filmed in Ireland.
That's the same thing, Leaves, don't you know?
Supposedly, it was because John Huston really wanted to do fox hunting. Because they moved to Ireland, they had to edit in grouse into the movie, which Bob was shooting at because there are no grouse in Ireland.
Also, this was right as the Troubles had started, and they filmed a bunch of scenes where someone is shooting around against explosive targets. That's...
Oh, it was his image of himself.
Of course.
So, if I understand correctly, the plan was to make him no longer a celibate because then that would make it so that he no longer believes in himself?
Yes, of course.
Who was this movie for?
I have no fucking idea. Bond fans definitely know. I guess movie parody fans, but it's not funny or charming or endearing in any way. It's...
Okay, we said the budget, Leaves. How much did it do at the box office?
It made $41.7 million.
So that's still a lot. More like triple the budget, actually. God damn. Apparently, a lot of people actually went to see this.
Well, it's a James Bond fan tale. This was back when Bond was like super duper duper mega popular.
I'm guessing though they never made a sequel, did they?
You see, Jova, think about this. This is a parody movie that doesn't understand the concept of parody humor. I mean, like very hardly you find a bigger failure than that.
Wait, so she's dying?
Sure, because
I guess the joke is, even though it was a tiny flesh wound.
We're also parodying the fact that all the Bond girls, either get away or, have to die in James's arms. We haven't really found that yet in its entirety, but it will happen a couple of times.
Like in Secret Majesty Service.
On Secret Service.
On Majesty Service. That's where Bond has the woman he actually loved up until a recent movie, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Die in his arms, yes. So I'm guessing this is supposed to be a parody of that. The problem is...
And now she's going to run away to join a convent.
Wow.
Look, if you want to make these jokes work, you have to go over the top. Like, look, it's kind of like in Jim Carrey's The Mask, right? Like that parody death scene they have, where Jim Carrey completely hams it up like mad to really enhance the humor. In here, everything is done so poorly and soulless. Like it's just like it's like they're not even trying.
Also, get the joke. She doesn't actually die, but sexually she is dead because she's joining a convent.
Sure.
Yeah. And yes, because James Bond loves to drive cars. Here's a car scene
with the gadgets, of course.
I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure this set is supposed to be a parody of a sci-fi TV show that was happening at the time.
I don't know. The overall art design of that room and this overall aesthetic of this makes me seem like it's okay. Are you trying to secretly parody Captain Scarlet or something?
Yeah,
you're supposed to be parodying Bond, not Captain Scarlet.
I remember a lot of British TV, sci-fi TV shows between the 60s and the 80s that had this kind of aesthetic. Like UFO.
Hey Jack, you put your Captain Scarlet parody by accident in your Bond parody.
Whoop.
I'm sorry. The entire way that scene is composed just makes it seem like these ladies are just playing Hot Wheels cars.
Oh.
Yeah, the milk is all gonna get spoiled at this point. This is what they could have done for to parody Bond car chase sequences. Why not have it so that Bond is running away from the police because he didn't pay his taxes? There you go. There's a funny, ridiculous situation to be instead of running away from a bad guy, instead run away from the police because he didn't pay his or something like that. Like this is just so. Ugh.
It feels very specific. It's the kind of, parody that feels like it sounded so hilarious as an inside joke between the makers of the movie. But then, they actually tried to tell that to others. That's.
My God!
all I'm
A
asking,
one-liner?
what
That was the perfect time for a one-liner.
all I'm asking is just one good one-liner. Is that so fucking much?
I just don't understand.
Look.
But hey, we've got
I
Money
guess-
Penny.
I guess the reason Arnold works so well is because until that point nobody managed to do it.
Actually, Liz, I'm Moneypenny's daughter for some reason.
The actual Money Penny took the vows.
Okay,
Whatever
is
that
this pretty
means.
much just going to be a fan fiction where Bond has a tryst with all the daughters of famous James Bond characters?
Right, so now Sir James has gotten over his stammer, and now he's in charge of MI6. So now he's the new M.
That actually works because I will argue David Niven. When I look at David Niven, I see him more as an M rather than a Bond, honestly.
Wait. Hold on. So the plot is that James Bond takes charge of MI6. I'm sorry. What was even the original mission he was given by M in the first place that forced him out of retirement? Then
He was going to this one actually.
Yeah.
I love this guy actually.
Here, it reminds me of someone.
You know, Dibs, I just realized something.
Hmm?
Since he's the Bond fan himself, I get the feeling Kojima took the whole, the Colonel taking Snake out of retirement thing from this movie. God.
I'm pretty sure it was more out of the Commando movie, especially because the Colonel did look like the equivalent character in that movie. Oh no, James Bond Jr., no, please.
No, thank you.
Oh no, it's worse, it's Woody Allen.
Excuse me, why am I in this movie exactly? I mean, when you think James Bond, you don't think me. Why am I here exactly? Can you please explain that to me, good sirs?
This is the actual footage of Woody Allen actually getting arrested.
Alright, now, ignoring Woody Allen's real life stuff.
Gone.
I just hope we run into a franchise where I don't have to talk about it.
Yes! Ready? Fire!
Ready?
Fuck it, it was exploding.
Jesus.
an exploding cigarette.
Remember,
damn it!
Agent and all.
Again, in order for that joke to be funny, you have to first set it up. You can't just randomly do it all out of nowhere.
Oh no. Okay, I have to admit, this one actually was fun.
All right, now that one is as a, like it's just it went by too quick for it to really sink in.
Go on,
Okay,
Liz.
apparently Woody Allen rewrote some of his own scenes to try and make them better.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like he may be a bit controversial, but from what I recall, he does know comedy for the most part, which seems to be more than the writers of this film knew. So apparently what's going on is, like, because agents can't seem to refuse sex with women, they've been mysteriously killed all over the world. Oh, part of the training, no doubt.
Oh, he's failed.
So the irony, they need a James Bond who can refuse the touch of a woman.
That's,
Okay, if I'm trying to look at this movie's logic, okay, one of the running gags about James Bond is, yes, he seems to be a horn dog when you look at him from the surface. But that's the thing, that's when you look at him from the surface. Yes, James Bond knocks boots a lot, but typically he does it in a sake of where he doesn't, take his eyes off the prize with the mission. Failed. I think one issue I've noticed is that this movie likes to emphasize more so the fan service than anything else with James Bond, which makes me wonder, Was this somebody making a bet saying, guys, I can totally make a porno that's legally viewable as a movie, basically?
Yeah, the softcore version.
So Cooper is played by, well, Terrence Cooper.
How original. Starting to see a running out of ideas movie.
Mm-hmm.
Did it ever have to begin with?
At the very least, the characters did not add the names of their actors.
So his brilliant plan is now going to rename all agents and trainees, even the women, James Bond 007 in an attempt to confuse Smirsh.
Because tactically, that's brilliant. Somehow.
Well, there you go,
Well, that
guys.
explains the multiple James Bonds we have in this movie.
Well, look at that, guys. We got a female reboot of James Bond in 1966. How progressive.
7.
Totally.
67.
So Woody Allen is actually in a James Bond movie. I never thought I'd live to know
I'm pretty
this.
sure, once again, taking real life stuff aside, he probably pretends he has forgotten about this.
That's the thing, Jova. Remember, Bond fans typically don't talk about this movie for a good reason.
I remember
That is true.
I remember reading that Peter Sellers especially hated it for the reason that I mentioned before, that he was hoping to be in a serious movie.
Well,
Did he not
didn't
read
exactly
the
make
script?
it easy on himself. Okay, I'll explain when he appears, but he didn't exactly make it easy on himself. I'll put it that way for now.
Mm-hmm. It's a literal training dream of resisting the temptation.
Okay, now as for why Vesper here, played by Ursula Andress, is wearing this costume, this is where I can believe it or not, this is where I can actually talk about Peter Sellers.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Peter Sellers in his life was very superstitious, I'll just say that. There was going to be a scene in which a giant live elephant was going to be involved, and Vesper was going to wear this outfit. But Sellers had a dream about his mother telling him not to do the scene as it was too dangerous, so the scene was kiboshed, and Andress got to wear the suit here as a bit of an apology.
Okay, first of all, this was the 60s, so I'm pretty confident that there was copious amounts of drugs being done for that to happen. Second, okay, they want to have this again, that's the joke, she's wearing this silly costume for this scene, I don't want to start, okay, not from you guys, but I don't want to start hearing anyone from the internet telling me again how, Queen Amidala's costume in episode 1 are supposed to be silly.
I never got that either. But yeah, okay, I guess to this woman's credit, she was supposed to be apparently accompanying
It's
an
recycled.
elephant.
It's a recycled prop for an inside joke, which seems to be okay. Not all the time, but the whole thing about inside joke that the dev team actually found funny seems to be the modus operandi of this movie.
Here he is, Peter Sellers, playing his character's name, Evelyn Tremble.
But also known as James Bond. But yeah, no, like Dweeb said, apparently now. So apparently now every agent in MI6 is going under the name James Bond, even the women.
Easy. We don't want to lose any more toes here.
Okay, now I can explain a bit more about Sellers. Sellers, by this point in his career, wanted to be known for being a romantic leading man, not just a funny guy.
Okay.
So apparently, he for some reason supposedly thought he was going to film a serious adaptation of the novel. So when he found out it was a spoof, I'm wondering why no one told him that before, he got really not happy about it. Well, he wasn't very cooperative on set, as in he would just not do what he was told. And I'll get more into that later when certain scenes come up.
If I recall correctly, one constant thing is that he takes his role completely seriously still.
Yeah, he tried to basically sabotage the movie into what he wanted it to be.
Because this is what this movie needed, an actor who doesn't want to be comedic.
Now, again, on paper, the idea of having a comedy movie that is supposed to be very serious and having the one actor doing a complete straight performance, that's actually something that we've also seen in the past, so it's nothing new. The problem is that in here, it seems that it wasn't really planned, and it was more of a petty revenge act.
It was only every so often that they got lucky and managed to get Sellers to cooperate.
Yeah, the straight man trope only works if the writer is aware that he's a straight man.
Like, okay, I'm curious. Did Sellers just not read a script, or did they not give him a script beforehand?
There are a lot of different nuances when it comes to the movie industry, Drova, that we might not even know. Remember, there were productions where the entire cast and crew walked on a set and they were told they were filming a completely different movie. They were told up until that point. Something similar happened to Ralph Bakshi with Cool World, for example.
Oh, Cool World, that one's infamous. Yeah. Like, he literally got a different script than the one he wrote on the first day.
He supposedly also brought in his own personal writer, a guy named Terry Southern, to rewrite his dialogue alone so he could try and outdo all his co-stars.
Okay, I'm noticing
especially Orson Welles, who we'll get to later. Oof. Also, apparently, for a combination of his uncooperativeness and his apparently failing marriage to Britt Eklund, who he kept trying to chase to try and save the marriage, often at times he wasn't on set at all for days or even weeks at a time.
Okay. Between him and Woody Allen, I'm seeing a recurring bit of actors feeling like they needed to rewrite their sections just because they didn't have faith in the script. Normally, I'd say they're being prima donnas, but if what most of the movie we've seen so far is what the script untouched was, Jesus. I mean, don't get me wrong, it sounds like Sellers was an asshole to people who didn't deserve it, but nothing about this movie feels like it works. I'm sorry to fans of this movie, but well, okay. Are there any unironic fans of this movie? Actually, I have
not that I know at the very least.
Not that I know of.
Yeah, it's like Bond fans typically just ignore this show. It's that simple.
Also, I'm gonna say this narratively, this feels backwards. Like, it feels like we've stepped into a completely different movie now that I guess we're moving away from, well, original James Bond now with this newer James Bond. Like, was this the plan from the get-go, or was this some change to the script made where somebody really wanted to include Peter Sellers as James Bond?
Well, Peter Sellers was the first casting coup of Feldman, so he originally wanted to build a film around him. But then all the crazy stuff happened.
Oh, so what you're saying is that, like, David Niven and any other James Bond basically was added in because of Peter Sellers being an asshole. So they essentially tried to make a movie around this James Bond, despite having a James Bond who barely wanted to be on set. Oh my god, Island of Dr. Moreau is basically a reincarnation of this film.
Accounts of what happened on set vary depending on person to person.
Okay, what's the most consistent just story we do have at the very least?
Chaotic production equals shit movie.
Bingo.
I get the idea, Java, it might be like a curse that periodically it has to manifest in the Hollywood industry. Maybe
True,
maybe
yeah.
as an actual punishment for all the weird shit that happens behind the scenes there.
Was Peter Sellers like the biggest actor they had, and other actors joined because they wanted to be alongside him, like with
I can tell
just
you
like
that
with Marlon Brando and
I
Island of
can
Dr.
tell you
Moreau?
I can speculate easily that David Niven might have just joined naturally when he learned that it was a comedy because he kind of specialized in those.
So yeah, So the reason they want Mr. Tremble on board is because he's very good at Baccarat, a card game popular at this time.
Let me see if
All
I
right.
actually know it.
So if I can understand correctly, originally the movie was supposed to center around this character, but because Peter Sellers was an asshole, they had to introduce several other characters to essentially make up other parts of the movie. Brilliant!
Yeah. Directors were filming different scenes, often with no idea of what the other one was doing.
So who put together this Frankenstein monster then in the end, I
Feldman.
wonder?
Feldman, this was his idea.
Well, kudos, I guess, to him wanting to stay true to it. Shoot, I'm beginning to wonder now if Austin Powers was taking the piss out of this movie.
Okay, no, I don't know how to play Baccarat. There was a time where I used to play a lot of, different card games for entertainment. Not for gambling, mind you. Also, what are you wearing?
Apparently a British Army hat.
Also, this must be when they got Peter Sellers on one of his good days.
I was told by the Monty Python, it's a man's life in the modern British Army. Oh, not this one, please. I guess he can walk after all.
Get it? He looks like Hitler, but he can't tell he's being set up. How does this ruin his image exactly?
No, the whole ruining his image thing is gone. That's done.
Remember,
Oh,
this is
so-
the whole thing about testing his master of disguise, capabilities.
Oh,
this is all still part of the test. I legit thought this was Smurfs trying to get him now.
This is his recruitment. This is how we get to the actual casino bits in Casino Royale.
Especially
They're
if you
hiring,
the name Le Chiffre. That's a take on the name of the main villain of Casino Royale, the Matt Mikkelsen character in the more recent movie.
They're going to hire him to, change his name to James Bond, because of course, and also to use his Baccarat skills to bankrupt Le Chiffre, played by Orson Welles, who has accumulated a lot of funds while playing Baccarat because he's working with the bad guys.
Parody 101. Your parody should never feel more complicated than the original source material.
Well, actually, the original had a bit more complicated stuff. For example, the Schiffer was actually in financial troubles and was collaborating with a fictional Soviet spy agency. In the movie, it's basically kept vague, but, it's one of those build-up that eventually leads to Spectre.
Yeah, it's just like, at least with that, I felt like I could at least follow the plot. Here, I'm legit having trouble following this plot. Maybe it's because it's my first viewing.
Here's also another thing, Jova, that we haven't talked about, The scenes are stretched.
They really are. Like, honestly, this is going on so long. I legit thought this was another Smurfs plot, but no, this is them actually recruiting him. Like, and I'm like, why this guy exactly? Like, I get why, in a meta sense, like, he's the one we made the movie around, but narrative-wise, why him exactly?
It's kind of like with Team America War Police, Jova. They need someone who's good at acting.
So now we're getting a parody of the Q scenes. Okay, apparently this scene was actually an edited down version of what they were originally going to do. They were going to have a Bond go through the Harrods department store, and the joke would be that this is actually what goes on underneath. But they cut that bit out because apparently the film was too crazy.
I'm starting to really regret not having alcohol for today.
Okay. So I think I've got the clue here. The woman who was recruiting him was Vesper Lind.
Yeah.
Also codenamed James Bond. Like, that's the thing. The joke is supposed to be that they're all James Bond, but they don't even really use it much, with nobody really being referred to as James Bond.
That was also the thing on the poster as well. Casino Royale is too much for one James Bond.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
Again, let's assume somebody didn't read that poster, heck, still doesn't get what that poster meant absolutely.
Also, this bit here with the guy shadowing him was also part of the initial setup for this scene. But, I mean, they cut all that out, but why did they cut this too? It's, I don't know.
Even the movie itself doesn't seem to care or find its jokes funny. The movie will make a joke like that and just casually move on. Like, it doesn't allow any time for the audience to absorb the joke. There's no time to sink in. The movie itself doesn't even seem to think it's funny, so it just wants to move on.
Also, maybe it goes without saying, but when this movie isn't being god-awful, unfunny, or unbelievably horny, it feels boring.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, Jova, remember, this was the 60s. Again, the only way you would know about a movie like this was to read in a newspaper, or when you were going to, see, and going to theaters to either see the movie or, the occasional broadcasting stuff that was happening at the time. Maybe might have had one, snippet or two of a trailer.
Maybe there was some talk on the radio about it.
That too, also trailer for radio. My point, Jova, is that if you went to see this movie, you kind of knew what you were getting into.
Well, again, though, back in the day, I forget if televisions were widespread, but didn't you have to, go to the movies to actually get a trailer?
I think it depends. I'm pretty sure very soon very early into the I'm pretty sure movie companies realize that we can put the trailers on TV to market the movie even further and everything. I'm pretty sure that was an early thing.
Let me check.
I mean, why not? I mean, from a marketing standpoint, it makes perfect sense.
My point, Joe, is that while I don't discount the possibility that a percentage of people went to see this movie blindly, I don't repute the huge box office, income that this got just for that.
Okay, yeah, they started being widespread to TV in the 1950s, so by this time, it's possible.
Not to mention, remember, this is a 007 movie, in theory, right? So at the time, this was right after Sean Connery's movies really exploded in popularity, right? So at the time, just a Bond movie, of course, would be a hit just based on brand name alone.
Yeah, that's why my theory was that this movie was such a box office success, because people went in expecting, another Bond movie, essentially. Granted, maybe it's not just that. Maybe it's just that Bond fever was at such an all-high pitch that even a parody of Bond seemed like it could be a good time at the time.
Yeah, and now we're back to the David Niven bit because it got bored of Peter Sellers, I guess. It's like what Calvin Dyson said in his review. The film keeps bouncing back and forth between the two.
We're barely halfway through, by the way.
Okay. If Peter Sellers' Bond character dies and we have to go back to David as the main hero in the end, this definitely is going to be essentially the predecessor to Island of Dr. Moreau, which had Marlon Brando so done that. But, well, okay. To be fair, Dr. Moreau dying is part of the original story.
Get it? Dressed as Cleopatra because popular
now
movie.
Bond's going to recruit his daughter, who we had with Mata Hari.
Oh God,
Mata Bond, played by Joanna Patet.
Yeah,
please tell me.
I forgot, but we might get some bad stereotypes.
Please tell me he doesn't hit on his own daughter in this, or his own daughter doesn't hit on him.
No, thankfully not.
Because that seems like such an obvious joke to do in a parody, and I would just not be here for it. Although, why does he want to absolutely hire his daughter?
Hold on, did
because
he come to
he's
see
a
his
very
daughter?
good spy.
Are you sure he's not here to see the Wizard of Oz?
Although I guess I get the joke. Hey, the daughter of James Bond and Mata Hari, two world-famous spies, must be the best spy ever.
I'm guessing the joke here is that, like, oh, look how over the top her introduction is. But
mysterious and exalted this culture is, yeah. I'm starting to take a wonder, but no, so far Temple of Doom still is more insensitive towards the cultures of India.
Although, to be fair to Temple of Doom, there's a deleted scene which has them discussing that, yeah, no, something's wrong, this isn't how they actually usually operate. Shame that got deleted.
That's the thing, by the time that deleted scene was finally viewable by the public, by that point the damage had already been done.
Yeah.
Too little, too late by this point.
It's one of the times where they may have figured it was a superfluous scene, but that scene would have been their saving grace, goddammit.
Also, because yes, this was the 60s, so we needed, every most possible movie needed to incorporate a dance routine, at least one, if not multiple.
The 70s took it to an The 70s took it to an ultra super high.
There is an old movie that I mentioned that my grandparents had that we made him watch a couple of times, but I don't remember the title. It's about, I think, a bunch of sailors, and one of its selling points is that one of the not musical, but I guess dancing sequence as the protagonist having the blend, live action animation by dancing with, I think, Taffy the Mouse, the supporting, character from Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. Wait. Tuffy?
Unless he was Jerry himself, but again, I don't remember.
You're talking about the Gene Kelly dance number?
I think it might be that.
No, that was Jerry. Himself.
Okay, I don't remember the title of the movie though.
Oh,
I'll need to find it. Don't worry.
I think it was something Dancing with the King, or I can't remember.
Again, I'll just find it on my own.
So is she like the ruler of this place, and that's why she got that big opening?
I love how she immediately believes him.
Okay, I believe you.
I guess to their credit, this is as far as I know, relatively original idea. James Bond having to deal with the literal fruits of his labor, an actual child. Aw, he pays child support even though she's rich.
But they went on analyst fees.
Get it? Incredibly seductive, but she's a virgin. I know I should not assume that they're gonna do the joke badly since they've just introduced this, but I'll admit this movie has not had the best track record so far. You did not need to stroke your father's chin like that.
Okay, I like that joke.
Okay.
Like,
For
that's the
every
thing. Yeah, the movie gets like one right every 30 minutes or something.
yeah, it's like for every 20 bad jokes, there is a good joke. Problem, of course, is the ratio.
Yeah, it's not really worth dredging for all the crap to get to those.
The sad
Okay.
thing is, Austin Powers showed that you can make a parody of James Bond.
Well, yeah.
Right, so now she's going to go off to Berlin to try and infiltrate a organization that's going to do evil things.
So she
Like,
too
part
will
of-
be a James Bond, I guess.
Yeah, it's the same group that's been wiping people out all over the world. Well, agents out.
Smersh, right?
Mm.
Yes, the most convenient transportation to Berlin.
And we got Bernard Cribbins as the taxi driver.
Can you remind me, Dwebs, who he is?
Bernard Cribbins, he's mostly known nowadays for playing Wilfred Mott in Doctor Who.
Ah, okay.
However, a year before this, he was in a Doctor Who movie.
Oh boy.
Ah, yes, the Iron Curtain.
And the Berlin Wall, yeah.
Get it? The Russian side is red.
It's funny.
Is it?
It reminded me that the joke in the Anastasia movie where they're on the train and the guy in wannabe and random guy says, "You see, even the actual ink on the passport has to be red."
Okay. This might be one of those you had to be there at the times, because I do remember during the Cold War, one of the common sayings was better dead than red, so
And
maybe
remember the negative terms in which the Soviets were described was also the pinkos. That's why Soda Popinski is
What?
unnaturally
What?
Now
red.
we're in.
Did Tim Burton take over? What the fuck is
Now
this?
we're in-
Man, this
Now we're
Disco
in-
Elysium movie is actually neat.
So Tim Burton apparently went back in time and did the set design for this movie.
this really does look like something you would find in a Tim Burton set, yes.
So yeah, she's in the Mother's Help / Secret Agent Smersh Training Service area.
I'm sorry, what's the plot? Are we supposed to be following David? Are we supposed to be following Peter Sellers? Are we supposed to be following Motabond here? What? Like, again, is this just a series of sketches
Gee,
stitched
Jova.
together into a movie?
Gee, Jova,
So we've
it's
got-
like having 6 directors can be a problem or something.
So we've got Anna Quayle as Frau Hoffner, who runs this school, and her assistant Polo, played by Ronnie Corbett.
And apparently he might be a robot or
a
something with her
peacemaker.
saying that he's... Oh,
Well,
that.
equivalent of that, I guess.
The movie only had 3 writers, but like Dave said, it had 6 directors. So like I said, Jova, too many cooks in the kitchen.
This really feels like a prototype for Tim Burton.
Okay, I need to know something because it's a specific Italian thing that is internationally known, but I need... no, okay, this was 10 years before the movie I was thinking of, Dario Argento Suspiria, because I was getting a bit of a flashback to that. Okay. Also, sped up footage.
Clockwork Orange inspiration?
Definitely not.
Also, you were in London for 2 weeks training and you're still wearing that.
Well, remember, she needed to prove her heritage.
Oh.
Yeah, I can see that.
No one's cleaned it?
The cobwebs just add to the whole thing.
Like, if I can give this movie one credit, I guess it's a pretty unique idea to actually try and give female protagonists more agency that doesn't simply revolve around Bond.
While at the same time, you can definitely tell that find any excuse possible for, the cheesecake.
Yeah, like, look. I'm not saying cheesecake's a bad thing in James Bond, it's just that, holy cow! Did most of the makers do this movie with one hand? Because it feels like 50% of what we've seen so far is, well, fan service cranked up to the moon.
So, yeah, with Sheev is being a bit naughty with Smersh's funds. He's using the funds to pay for his gambling, and he's going to hold a secret art collection auction to help recover some of the funds. If he doesn't pay Smersh off, he will be, as this film calls, liquidated.
That is
Oh,
a
boy.
remnant of the original book, where the poor guy actually was in genuine trouble for his efforts. So the whole card game that he has with James, that's literally a fight for his life kind of deal. It's not just him toying with him.
Get it? So I guess it's integral that she does the mission in this costume. You know,
It's quite
I'll
the
just say,
experience. It's quite the dull experience watching a comedy that's not funny.
Yeah.
you know, when Austin Powers put Beyonce in sexy outfits, she was doing a parody of Foxy from the 70s. Hell, she played a character who literally came from the 70s, so it made sense she was constantly in those sexy outfits.
Oh, and here we've got another returning actor from the actual Bond films. You know that creepy chess master from Russia with Love?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
He's in this movie as the representative of Le Chiffre. He doesn't have a name, so I'll just refer to him by his actor's name, Vladik Shaybal.
You did. Okay, that's another one. I don't get it. You have all these terrible jokes, yet every now and again they pull out legit good jokes.
Well, Jova, if you keep throwing turrets at the wall, eventually
Something
a
will
couple of the
stick,
turrets will
yeah.
stick.
Yeah.
I think that was Charles K. Feldman's philosophy while producing this movie. Although I should mention,
Most of the time, it was actually the writers turning to us, hey guys, this joke is not funny. No, put it in. Oh no, Aaron's is dumb. Don't laugh at it.
Okay. The stress of this film's production actually caused Feldman to develop heart issues. At one point, he even had a heart attack during the production, and he apparently blamed it on Peter Sellers.
So yeah, this movie eventually, on the long run, killed someone.
Yeah, he died in May 1968, over a year after the film came out.
Like, it's not on the level of Resident Evil The Final Chapter, but Jesus.
This movie really has it all.
Too bad none of it is good.
Yeah, I wish one of the things that it had was good comedy.
We have all the things. They're all bad, but we have all of them.
Alright, so now she's got to stop the auction from happening.
This guy looks like a 1960s time-traveling Cillian Murphy.
Also, the Chinese representatives clearly are not very flattering.
So what's their plan?
Battle course.
Okay.
What? Convince them that a war is occurring.
It's okay. It's okay, guys. Peace is our profession. Remember?
Yes.
Nah, war's broken out, according to them.
Oh yes, quite dear.
Ah, isn't that cute? They're trying to do the Stutter Strangelove joke. How cute!
When did Strangelove come out
this
again?
came out the same year
Well,
as Strangelove.
I know.
68?
No, actually, Strangelove is 64.
Oh, so 3 years before this.
64.
Yes. By this point, at the time of this movie's production, Kubrick was working on 2001: A Space Odyssey.
This film actually makes 2001 sane.
I guess Polo is supposed to be the equivalent to a, villain henchman with a gimmick.
Now remember, the war broke off, and they were trying to make the whole, super duper tranquil phone call, kind of like what they do with the president in Doctor Strange. That's why I was saying, isn't that cute? The movie thinks he can. The movie thinks he can do Doctor Strange laptop joke. How cute!
Well, again, the major joke was that the Americans, the Chinese, and the Soviets were all panicking, while the British one was like, "Oh dear, I cannot go back for dinner."
Gentlemen, you can fight in here. This is the war room.
Well, again, credit where credit's due. She does get to be badass, at least.
Also, considering the average content of a fire extinguisher of the time, I'm pretty sure someone got cancer from this scene.
Well, I mean, at least someone looks like she's having fun.
Whee!
Well, at least she stopped the auction.
Yeah, no, I mean, credit where credit's due. I mean, yes, even though she's doing it in essentially a belly dancing outfit, for a Bond girl to get to do this much stuff independent of Bond is very progressive.
I mean, granted, it's something, I guess.
Granted, it isn't a parody film. I don't want to assume the worst, but the fact that it's in a parody film does say a bit for the era, but I digress.
Ah, of course, the sewers, the Ninja Turtles will help us.
Or Tom Jones by the choice of song.
Curses, foiled again. Yeah,
you need a license for that.
Whatever.
What? That's it?
and now we're going to get a totally natural transition back into the Peter Sellers part of the film.
This movie has a weird obsession of... Oh, there's no Orson Welles.
Orson, what are you doing here?
The French.
So I'm guessing he's supposed to be the equivalent to Blofeld.
No, he's supposed to be equivalent to, Mads Mikkelsen's character.
Ah, yes, Baccarat, because Bond plays Baccarat, of course.
Also, yeah, this movie. Oh Jesus! This movie has a
Oh!
weird obsession on not taking advantage to comedy
Wait.
right when it's
But
there.
don't worry, we've penetrated the wall.
Wait. How did you know which specific phone booth he was in?
He was just that evil.
Did you happen to have a exploding button for every single phone booth in London or something?
Or he had it on the person,
Berlin.
maybe, I don't know. So here we are, we're back in the Peter Sellers section of the movie.
Oh, the movie just remembered that.
Yes. Also, I have to mention about that thing with the policeman earlier. Like, the policeman didn't even say anything. Come on, you could have had him say something like Jova said, you need a permit to use that thing. Something. Just, that's such an obvious punchline. It writes
the punchline
itself.
would have been that he gets arrested for using a firearm right at the border of the Berlin Wall.
Why was that cop even in that scene? He literally says that you could remove that cop from the scene and nothing would change. Like, the cop is useless. He does nothing. He doesn't contribute to the comedy at all.
Behold, the car wash of doom.
No, actually,
Oh, I know. It's that segment in Chowder where Tara Strong gets to clean a car for easy money.
It's quite the interesting specimen that this movie is a comedy that doesn't seem to want to tell jokes.
Yeah, they don't take advantage of the obvious thoughts. And don't and again, if the mentality was about, well, it's too obvious, that's the entire point.
Like, you're a parody movie. You're supposed to go for some of the obvious... Well, okay, unless you're doing, like, a double subversion gag, but no, you aren't.
Like, I get it if you want to, again, the modern equipment. I get that you would want to wait, you want to avoid something that would be considered too cliche, like a modern movie trying to avoid the whole, well, that just happened, kind of quipping. But I don't know, I think for those situations it would have been perfectly fine to have one-liners.
Like, if the movie itself is not confident in its sense of humor, why the hell should I?
I should mention this bit, actually. So yeah, this is Jacqueline Bisset playing Miss Giovanna Goodthighs.
Uh-huh.
And and she had quite the story to tell about Peter Sellers while filming this bit.
Oh boy.
Sellers, has some sick idea of a joke, decided to fire that gun right in her face.
Please tell me it was not loaded.
Even so,
it was a blank, but
no, that's not funny.
Okay, taking aside the actual potential psychological trauma, the sound alone would be enough to cause tinnitus to someone, potentially.
Did she, did it deafen her for a bit, Dibs?
No, but she thought she'd been blinded.
Jesus.
Look, Sellers, I get it. You didn't like the movie. I get not liking working on it, but rule 1 of etiquette, never take it out on your coworkers.
It makes Jared Leto sound like a saint, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
And the drink is spiked. Lovely.
There was some word of them asking earlier on if Trumbull might be a double agent. I'm just gonna say it though. Sellers' version. Oh, get it? They're both
spiking each other's drink. Okay, fair enough.
I'll say this though. I know that Sellers was the main grab at the time, but I'm gonna be honest, his part of the movie bores me the most. Like, David's at least was fine enough as a Bond pastiche, and God, Mata Bonds is actually my favorite part of the movie, seeing as how,
stuff happens.
Like, stuff happens. She arguably gets the best joke so far, and my God, actual action actually occurs in her bit here.
Like I said, if the movie itself is not invested in its own sense of humor, why the hell should I?
Yeah, that's another thing. In Peter Sellers' parts, maybe it's because he rewrote stuff a bit, but the movie feels the least invested in itself during his segments. Like, Shoot, should have just made the movie about Mata Bond, a weird-ass story about the daughter of Mata Hari and James Bond doing the spy work her own way. Like her father, she also seduces people and sleeps with them, basically to get stuff here. Well, okay, maybe not focus on that as much, which, yeah, that's the funny thing. Despite her dressing up sexy, they thankfully don't have her relying on sex as much.
Yeah, I
Like,
think
she
the joke
actually
is
does
that,
more
because
fighting.
that's the outfit that Mata Hari was having, so they think, oh, it needs to stay on brand.
Which, in spite of that, to give him credit, she still actually gets to do kick-ass action and stuff. Like, I joke,
They
but it's
recycled
not...
the shot from before, my god.
Dude, we weren't even in the 70s yet.
Oh, I know this one. You have to be like the dub of Race in America. She's lifting a Mickey.
Oh. It was an antidote pill he put in.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Wonder why, given that the woman had him where she wanted him, why didn't she just kill him?
I don't know. Okay, and now we're going to get to the interesting thing that Orson Welles asked for.
So, okay, was this at his point in time when Orson Welles still cared about his career, so he actually was giving his effort for this?
I guess. So, Orson Welles had it in writing in his contract for the movie that he wanted some of his scenes to include his magic tricks.
Cute.
Okay.
And the loose justification that they give in the movie is that while he's doing all his cheating in the game, we'll see that later on, he's been showing off with his magic throughout because he's that cocky.
I guess this means this is a time when Orson Welles did have fun making movies.
And also, because of his weight at the time, he was having some issues. Supposedly, he could only be under the hot studio lights for a short time. Afterwards, he had to go off and shower.
Also, Pet Monkey.
Supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
Again, how true a lot of these things are, it's not entirely clear.
I guess
Okay, also...
So go on.
Also, yeah, I get it. Magic tricks are very impressive, but when you're doing it in a film, it's kind of hard to believe that they aren't just editing it.
Pretty much.
I'm guessing the point in movies is supposed to be that, in addition to being a dastardly villain, he's also a magician.
I don't know. I think Unicron having levitating powers might have made the Transformers movie very different.
That's the funny thing. That was at a point where he could care less, but ironically, that helped his performance as Unicron. I'll explain more when we actually get to commentating on the Transformers movie.
Also, that haircut, jeez, like it's on a
Hey, he said the line.
He's on a attempt at a pompadour, but poor at that.
Also, Bill Murray, you look young here. I joke, but God, he looks like a younger Bill Murray.
Also, is this the joke? James Bond is too well known to be a spy?
Probably.
Don't you know?
Maybe that again reflected the success of the movies.
To be fair, that's probably one of the first jokes I would think of for a parody, so fair beans. So let me guess, it turns out it's not Evelyn who's the double agent, but it's Vesper who is. So here's the biggest issue I have. While I get the connection that the Mata Bond and the Peter Seller bonds parts have with the original Bond, they feel so divided. Like, how does this tie into the tapes that Mata Bond got exactly?
I don't know. I don't think even the
Shoot.
makers of the film knew at this point. Yeah, see? But wait a minute, what's he doing? The sheep is cheating! So come on, Treble, Bond, you better hurry. Oh, now I can actually talk a bit more about some other issues regarding the movie in concerns to Peter Sellers and Orson Welles.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't get along, to put it lightly.
Oh no! Like, okay, I know Orson Welles got a bit of an ego later on, but oh god, an ego clash? That's another thing this shares with the island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, so apparently it's not clear as to what exactly happened that caused the hostility between the two. It was either um Sellers was feeling pretty intimidated by Wells because Sellers, being superstitious, didn't really like Wells's magic tricks. Or that Sellers felt that Wells wasn't taking scenes seriously, and Wells thought that Sellers was an amateur.
Huh. So I guess even then Welles kind of had a habit of not taking filming seriously.
Yeah, but also, another rumor going around was that Princess Margaret visited the set,
Oh
and
boy.
that Peter Sellers really wanted to meet her, but Princess Margaret apparently walked right past him and visited Wells instead.
Ooh.
And Sellers supposedly decided to throw a tantrum and blame Wells. Either way, there's a reason that the two aren't on screen at the same time. They film their scenes separately.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, so he's originally an offer. Cute.
Yeah, remember he wrote the book. He wrote a book on how to be good at baccarat.
Mm-hmm.
Let- Okay, now this is the bit that kind of sort of feels a little bit like a proper Bond. The chief, you're winning.
I mean, that's kind of the point of gambling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has got a gambling problem. Look hell. Back then, there was a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now it's worth a lot of money. So, who's going to win this one? I don't know how baccarat works, but I'm sure someone's going to. Also, apparently, yeah, someone switched out his glasses so he can't do the.
The usual trick, yeah.
Yeah.
What is with this imagery?
Clearly, we're dealing with comedy genius writers here, ladies and gentlemen.
Hmm.
It's like I'm the bad guy or something.
Yeah.
Oh no, Vesper's being kidnapped. You all know what this means, right?
Bond action sequence?
Yeah, but we're going to get an epic car chase.
Problem is that it's an epic car chase in this movie.
Thanks for
Right?
explaining
So
the
here we
joke.
go. We're going to get the car chase in the. Oh.
What?
Nope, we don't
And
get
we
a car
cut to-
chase.
And we cut to him getting captured.
Yeah, that's also part from the adaptation.
Okay, now since we can't have James Bond being tortured by having his balls bashed in this time period,
That's what happens, in case no one knows.
Did they also change that in the movie adaptation?
Oh no,
he's going to be tortured by editing.
Also, no, don't worry, Java. The 2006 movie has the sheep bashing bounce balls.
Goodness.
Also, yeah, this sort of scene screams to me like Orson Welles did this after Sellers was fired.
Oh, wait. Sellers actually got fired?
Yeah, because of all the disruption he was causing, he was fired from the film, and this thing here was to try and cobble together what they had left of Sellers.
Oh God, please tell me they didn't try to actually have him be the hero in the end despite him being fired.
I guess it's a good thing Shiro is not here.
Stop, this editing's killing me.
So, this is a movie where the protagonist's actor had to be fired. Was this not maybe a sign that things weren't meant to be?
Get it? Because, inside James Bond's head, it's only woman.
And he's now in another outfit because...
And now he's in Scotland?
Of course,
Joe. Of course he's in Scotland, Joe. Because in Scotland there's constant bagpipe music. Don't you know?
Remember, this is supposed to be Le Chiffre mentally torturing him.
Yeah, he saw himself telling, "Help me."
Well, that's the thing, though. Since the dialogue didn't really seem to add up between Sellers and Wells in this bit, my guess is this was the Wells parts were filmed after Sellers was fired, and he had to cobble all this together.
Okay. I mean, that implies that there was a scene for some reason with Sellers in a Scottish crowd, so I have to believe this was part of the plan.
It is, yes.
What the fuck is he doing here?
Okay,
for the same reason that Orson Welles is here. It makes no sense. It's not funny.
Guys, Vesper is here somehow.
This cast is surprisingly stacked.
It's kind of like a microcosm of a lot of bad movies of recent times. Stuff like the Salzburg movies, movie 43 with the impressive cast, Damn.
Oh!
And now he's dead. And now the shift, yep, that's how they wrap up that portion of the movie.
So they really just had to haphazardly end the James Bond segment with the new James Bond because Sellers was fired, so...
Fired or walked off the set again but never came back. Whatever. The point is he's not there.
So it turns out that Vesper was working for Smersh, I guess.
I guess. Yeah. That's the thing, though. At least in the 2006, Casino Royale, yeah, Vesper was a spy all along, but it was done unwillingly. But here, it was done because they had to write Peter Sellers out of the movie.
Yeah. And now Mata
And
Bond
now we
is
got
kidnapped.
a flying saucer.
So you bothered to make a Casino Royale parody, but now we're done with the Casino Royale portion that the movie was more or less building up to.
Pretty much.
Brilliant. Like, brilliant. Isn't that kind of like making a parody of... Well, shoot, making a parody of anything and then not culminating with it. Like,
Hyping up a comedy episode about the return of a villain character and then not doing it. I'm not talking about anything in particular.
Yeah.
I should mention, the uncredited director was Richard Talmadge. But again, you didn't want his name on it.
Oh, hey, Mimi.
Oh, we've got Vivi back.
Remember her? She's back in the movie now.
Now she's a nun.
Remember, she did mention she was going to
Yeah.
convent.
Mm-hmm. But you checked the back of the receipt. Oh, they took her to Casino Royale. See? There you go, guys. It is still Casino Royale after all.
I cannot even make the joke that that's the title of the movie.
Oh yeah, Jover. I remember that scene in Casino Royale where Vesper gets kidnapped by a UFO.
Meanwhile, a UFO from Mars, I guess, shows up and
again. Maybe you're right, Pedro. Maybe this is actually a Captain Scarlet.
And now we're in a lost episode of Thunderbirds.
Okay. Just for reference, was James Bond to the point where something like a UFO would make sense in context?
No.
Moonraker was way later on.
Even Moonraker didn't have fucking aliens in it.
And You've Only Lived Twice doesn't count. That film hasn't even come out yet.
It's not about aliens, Pedro. It's more like the device that Smersh was using.
Jesus Christ. Dude, I thought we were watching a Bond movie, not a Thunderbirds movie.
Well, funny enough, they actually made Thunderbirds puppet movies. We'll probably do those. In case you're wondering, the voice, the menacing voice that you heard earlier, that was of actor Valentine Dial, who's more famously known for playing the Black Guardian in Doctor Who.
Of course.
I mean, again, it's not perfect, but again, it feels like more stuff actually happened with David and Mata Bond's sections than Peter Sellers, the guy who's supposed to be the main grab. Also, it really feels like something that could only happen back then. An actor getting fired, but you still use his footage essentially in a good chunk of the movie. I feel like nowadays, if something like that happened, the movie would have either been canned or reshoots would have been implemented to pretty much suffice for it.
I think this was right before the creation of the guilds. Go on.
Yeah, I should mention the what happened to the directors of this movie. John Huston came away from it relatively untouched. The same can't be said for Val Guest, who did a lot of David Niven scenes and had to basically direct them, tried to come up with this stuff. He got scapegoated for how the film turned out, pretty unfairly.
Really?
And so after this, he was stuck making films like Confessions of a Window Cleaner, aka bad British porn movies.
Gary Drova, it's Dr. Noah. Huh.
Yeah, in this case, Dr. Noah is apparently the leader of SMERSH instead of just being an operative.
Mm-hmm. But
I
who
guess
is
it
the
makes sense
mysterious
that they
Dr.
wanted.
Noah?
Of course. Uh,
So, who's Dr. Noah? Oh,
Jimmy.
Jimmy Bond.
Wasn't there a John Cena music video where had this as the plot twist? I
Mm.
think it was the song Batman.
So yeah, he can't talk when he's around Sir James.
Weird.
Ah, so now it's The Rock, the climax of The Rock. Even the vials are even color green. I guess that's supposed to be funny.
even though it isn't.
That's a very specific plan.
I guess the idea is that, he feels threatened by men taller than him, so kill them all. And make every woman hot gorgeous so
Is
they'll
that
have to
Todd
settle
our
for
secret
him.
plan? With all the releases of Skyrim, he will have all the beautiful women in the world.
Oh my goodness, So all this time, he wasn't just a Disney villain, he's also a Bond villain.
That shot of Eve standing next to Jonathan Nolan and Troy Baker at the Game Awards sends me so much.
Yeah.
Uh,
I joked about how horny this movie is, but ultimately it really is about a Woody Allen character feeling sexually inferior to his old ass uncle.
Who's celibate.
This movie's weird.
personal punching bag. What?
Yeah. It took till 1999 for Eon to actually get the rights to the novel. So for quite a while, the biggest Casino Royale adaptation we got up until 2006 was this.
What about the well, I guess there was the original black and white one.
Where Bond was American.
But answer me honestly, Dwibs. Do you find this better than that one?
Well, actually, no, I can't even say Bond's British because there's many
Nano
other better
Machines.
films where Bond is British.
We have the 60s version of Nano Machines. They turn someone into an atom bomb.
Great.
Actually, no, according to our data, I propose this today. At least tomorrow we have a Nintendo Direct, at least. Ew.
Sucker.
I'm sure you do.
Are we on the movie set of Existence from David Cronenberg?
Ew.
Fidel Castro.
You see, he's behind the Cold War, actually.
Okay, I'm not quite sure.
Yep.
Was that better Joker?
Oh my god, was the Johnny Bravo Bond spoof episode referencing this?
Possible. I seem to remember that.
Is she the one who defeats him by poisoning his drink?
It's not even poisoning, it's the whole thing about turning someone into an atom bomb. See, she gets to have a one-liner.
So, yeah, he hiccups 399 times, the bomb will explode.
So she's ultimately the one who does him in. Like, I mean, kudos to this movie. The women get to do more, I guess, than Bond himself. Well, it depends on which Bond we're talking about, I guess.
I mean, in the last official Bond movie, Thunderball, the main villain was done by the Bond girl.
Which, to be fair, it was very personal in that regard. Although that was after at least a cool one-on-one fight with Bond as well.
And now we're getting this. Well,
Okay, I guess it was a
watching this brand
requirement
spoiled.
for a lot of movies around along with the decades, to have the climax involving some kind of strobing lights. Because like you seem to have started noticing a pattern with a lot of movies.
Oh, get it?
Okay.
Even
By the way, that zombie there,
yeah.
he's played by David Prowse.
Oh, Darth Vader.
Okay.
Physical Darth Vader, that is.
Remember, this was
Mhm.
like 10 years before that. Why is
Yeah,
it the
that's the thing.
Frankenstein
I'm not gonna.
monster?
That's the thing that. That's the thing that after seeing that documentary about the making of Star Wars, I'm not gonna lie. I kind of wish there was a full cut of just David Prowse's spoken dialogue
Well,
on set.
okay, this is getting very annoying, and I'm very glad Shira is not here for this.
Why did Dr. Noah need to make a duplicate of Frankenstein's monster?
The better question is why not?
I feel like that was the question they asked
Oh,
when
and
making the
that
script
is
for this
right. His
movie.
lab was in the basement of the Casino Royale. Kept
Get
forgetting
it?
that.
It's still
all
Casino
connected,
Royale, guys.
Good show.
Dun dun dun.
What?
And now, because they couldn't think of an ending, this stuff happens. Yep,
Casual
the film-
cooldown.
The film
Get
just
it?
goes completely insane.
Get it? American Aid, cowboys, westerns,
I mean,
yippee-ki-yay!
Lives, would you rather have, be like Monty Python and the Holy Grail and have everyone being arrested by the police?
Yes.
Seals, okay.
Wait, what?
Well, this movie is kind of okay. I have to agree with Pedro. This movie has a bit of an obsession with some animal torturing.
Not just that, like, okay, the movie decided to go insane, which normally would be a good thing, but in this movie, not really.
A monkey?
And a monkey.
Dressed as
Sure.
In a
Beethoven?
suit.
Okay,
Mozart?
here's what happened. The filmmakers realized that their shit is not funny. So this big explosion of insanity is their final desperate attempt to try to make you laugh.
Reminder, as Pedro also said when we did the Generations, that originally Doctor Strangelove was supposed to end in a pie fight, but they thought it was too ridiculous.
No. It's not so much that it was too ridiculous to you. It's more so that that Peter Sellers it completely improvised.
Oh, the line, so we took that. Okay.
That final,
Also-
the whole I'll
no.
my future I can walk line, right?
Also, there were girls painted gold, because get it? Goldfinger.
And Kubrick realized that he couldn't top that, so he decided, you know what, let's have that be the final shot of the movie.
Choices were made for this finale.
Were they, though?
Boy. Well, I can see definitely one choice. Lots of people in red face.
Unless these are actual natives that they got for the role. Even still, what the hell?
Hilarious.
You know, again, I find it funny. This actually preceded Blazing Saddles, which did this kind of finale, but so much better.
It means shit. No, that's not what it said.
Sure, now we're spoofing movies in the 1920s and 30s. Why not? Again, this is the filmmakers desperately throwing shit at the wall. Oh, here, there you go. Here's, look at all this shit. Hopefully, you'll find at least one of these bits funny, right?
Question, Waves. Have you seen the movie Top Secret?
No.
Wait. Oh my god, I've been framed. The gun shoots backwards. I just killed myself. Was Ballistic Exorcist ever trying to reference that with the gun that shot backwards?
Anyway, Waves, I don't remember what year was that made, but it is also a movie that parodies not completely James Bond, but some of the cliches of spy movies. Okay.
Right.
What?
I don't
Gun
understand.
crossbows.
Even the
Get
seal
it?
has a
Even the
007.
seal's 007.
We were mentioning too many cooks. It's like I'm actually watching the climax of that Adult Swim sketch.
Okay, Dwebs, I gotta ask, what drugs were the British on when they made this movie?
All of them. Just all of them.
A lot of them.
Yeah, there you go.
And everyone's died.
Oh, wow.
And apparently gone to hell?
Heaven.
Is this meant to be hell? Looks more like heaven to me.
Wait, but then
Yeah.
why red? Like, red's
Orange.
usually something...
Well, speaking of hell,
Is that a joke because Woody Allen is Jewish? God damn it, movie.
And the movie doesn't even end. It just stops.
So the movie literally ended with everyone dying.
yes.
Oh, whoops. We forgot to make sense of anything. Oh, well. It kept you quiet for 2 hours, didn't it? Victus, you're right.
Oh.
Where do I even start?
Like...
Okay, I'll give you some time to think about that. I'll go first if that's okay.
Go on.
This film was a complete mess. Outside of like one or two, a few jokes here and scattered throughout this 2-hour-long movie, it's not funny, so it already fails as a comedy. It has no idea what story it wants to tell, so it decides to tell all of them, and not really doing any of them well. It sucks that Feldman developed issues with his health as a result of this movie, but it also shows that he wasn't really good at holding a production like this together, like at all. Like his idea of producing is just throw a bunch of famous stuff at the wall and see if any of that sticks to make a good comedy, which it doesn't. Oh, actually, I recognize that Jeffrey Beldon name. He was actually later in his career. He was one of the characters in the UK adaptation of the game show Fort Boyard. But anyway, enough of stuff that I do like. The actors are all trying, even if one of them went completely nuts and decided to sabotage the movie. Yeah, but that's the big problem. The film's got no idea what it wants to be, and when it does sort of decide what it wants to be, it just gives up and tries to do something else. And it wastes a bunch of really good talent as well. Yeah, everyone from the actors to the composer, whose music I do enjoy outside the movie, but in the movie just doesn't really add up. I would like to see the other movies these directors made, because I can't imagine that they're this incompetent. Although to be fair, they had like no leadership at all.
Yep.
Mm.
And yeah, this is basically the height of Bond mania, but it's also a danger in in excess. Like it tries to do a load of stuff, but fails at everything, and well, I think the results speak for themselves. And also, yeah, allowing a bunch of egos to run wild. And to think, all of this could have been solved if he just managed to cast Sean Connery. I'm not sure how much Peter Sellers' salary actually was, but that seems to be the number thrown around the most. 1 million plus a Rolls Royce that it cost to get Sellers, but apparently not 1 million for Connery.
And the ironic thing is, for all they took to get Sellers, dude was barely in the movie compared to a lot of other things. He left the movie prematurely. Apparently, his showing up in the finale in heaven was from an outtake.
I was wondering where that came from.
Well, there you go then.
Yeah.
Damn, this is a Frankenstein of a movie, and I'm not saying that because Frankenstein's in the movie.
Like, imagine having to take a blooper or outtake and actually insert that into the movie just to make up for an actor not being there anymore.
Yeah, could you imagine if a modern day big budget movie had these issues? The studio would probably get laughed out of existence.
It truly is something that could only have happened at this moment in time.
That's the 60s. Well, the worst of the 60s. All right, that's me done.
All right, I guess I will go next. I'm almost tempted to copy paste just everything that Lewis just said because this was miserable. There's only so many times you can say to that comedy is not funny, before that in itself gets repetitive and annoying. But man, this was just waste of everyone's talent, time and effort and money. Like, okay, not money because it didn't made enough. So I guess the consolation prize is that, well, everyone except the sellers, I guess, eventually got the royalties from the box office of this.
Apparently, Sellers did get some money out of this, given to his estate and whatnot, at least.
Still, I guess there is a slight silver lining, I guess, but otherwise, this is just horrible. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I still am not particularly super fond of the Austin Power movie, but at least they try having, a more coherent way of trying to make a parody of the Bond tropes. So there is that. I probably would have liked the final, brawl out super chaotic in general if the build up to craziness to that was actually handled better because that's one of the biggest problems of the movie. Its pace. The first 2/3 are stretched so much that you feel yourself dying as you actually watch the movie. But the last bit instead goes super frenetic. Right after they're done with the Casino Royale adaptation, after the ship dies, the movie basically speeds up considerably, basically. And, it never stops. So if that had been, properly balanced, I guess I would have been, more entertained by how absurd, the ending gets. But not even that. That is not to say about the behavior of, the people involved with this. It's a good thing that the one that you tended to care the most, David Niven, seems to have basically gone generally unscathed by this movie. Good for him. But no, this was draining. I genuinely regret not having alcohol for this one. God damn. Pedro.
Yep, this sucked. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. It's not charming. It's not much of anything, really. The movie doesn't even seem like it wants to be funny because there's so many opportunities for, at the very least, decent punchlines that they don't even do. Again, I have to insist. What the fuck was the point of the cop showing up in that moment where the guy is shooting if you're not going to do anything with it? Like, so if the movie itself doesn't seem interested in being funny, what else is there? I mean, the characters are just caricatures with the quote-unquote action is laughable at best, but not for the right reasons. And the actors clearly don't seem to believe in the material much either. Also, gotta love how the movie has no focus. Gee, it's like having 6 people direct the bloody movie was a bad idea or something, instead of having at least 1 or 2 who actually have a common vision. But,
Speaking of directors, one of them, Joe McGrath, I think it was, he was friends with Peter Sellers, and Sellers wanted him in the movie. Sellers punched McGrath in the face during production.
Wow.
Jesus. And the funny thing is, Sellers apparently got the most money out of this movie thanks to his contract here. Like, believe it or not, he was still making money. Well, his estate anyway was still making money off of the movie as late as 2011.
Yeah.
Because he had wanted 3% of the gross profit, which, thanks to inflation and adjustments, estimated out to £120 million.
So yeah, like Theo said, this movie is a fucking exercise in boredom and frustration and just it's so soul draining. So yeah, it sucks. It's been mostly forgotten for a reason. If you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go back to pretending that this movie doesn't exist. See ya.
Trova.
Wow, I gotta say, guys, this was a wonderful history lesson you showed me about the trials and tribulations that the James Bond movie series has survived. I mean, I guess saying it survived is a bit of a stretch too, since it's not even like this was directly on the line, so regardless of whether this was a success or not, we were still going to get Bond movies. That being said, in spite of it being pretty terrible, it grossed pretty well. Now, Orson Welles' own particular theory is that the success of the movie had to do with the marketing strategy that featured the naked tattooed woman on the film's posters, which Tia pointed out probably would get you to think you're in for the typical Bond action as well. That being said, I hope people were able to have fun with this, because if you think you're in for a good bout of James Bond fun, you're not. And okay, to be fair, from what I've been told, it looks like they weren't trying to hide that it was a parody. Like, there was marketing that did showcase it was a parody. In fact, some of the critics do critique it as a parody. This is where we come to the real problem. It's not funny. Like, it's one thing when you got, like, almost any other genre being bad, because typically, when you have any genre that's not humorous being bad, then it becomes unironically funny, something you can laugh at. A bad comedy is something that arguably you cannot laugh at, because a bad comedy fails at being funny. That's not to say we didn't have a few laughs, some legitimate and some at just the absolute baffling nature of stuff, but that's more so a laugh of desperation to make heads or tails of what was even going on with this film. Okay, so Peter Sellers was their main draw after they couldn't get Sean Connery. That was honestly a waste in my eyes, because I'm gonna be honest, his portions of the movies are the weakest bouts for me. Like, hey, Mata Bond actually, conversely, feels like she has the best segments, since she gets all the cool action and whatnot. David also gets some action here and there.
Mostly at the end.
But, yeah, and the thing is, it's like they had 3 different movies and merged them into one, with no coherence whatsoever. Like, scenes just come and go. Like, at first it's about David, then it's about Peter Sellers, then it's about Mata Bond. Like, I know his name is actually Evelyn Tremble, but nah, it feels like he was kind of on autopilot with this one. I mean, I'm not as familiar with Peter Sellers, but compared to how well he was doing in, like, Doctor Strangelove, this just feels like he's going through the motions, honestly. Save for the one bit in the card-playing scene between him and Orson Welles, which, hey, that actually feels like it had something going for it. But alas, too little too late. And it is eerie how many developmental issues this shares with Island of Dr. Moreau from the 90s. Like, you got the rivalry between the 2 big hotshot actors. You've got the one big draw actor who was so bad he barely showed up in the movie and they had to work around that. You have the writing that constantly went from place to place because they kept losing directors. Like, I honestly have to wonder if Island of Dr. Moreau was produced by the same curse on Hollywood that Tio theorized might be a thing, because there's so many similarities in what went wrong. Mind you, there are also a lot of things that could only have happened in this day and age before a lot of regulations and stuff were put in. Like, honestly, again, in this day and age, either they'd have had to have kept Sellers on contract, or the film would have either been canned, or they would have had to reshoot it to hell to make up for the fact that Peter Sellers is out. But the Mad Lads actually made this Frankenstein monster of a movie. I want to say I appreciate that, but no. Now, again, ironically, it was very progressive of them to give us female James Bonds and actually have the female agents do stuff that's independent of Bond, most notably with Mata Bond, who arguably gets some of the better action sequences. That being said, that's a compliment I'm giving in the context of this movie, so it kind of feels a bit backhanded when you think about it. I mean, the music never fits a scene that, well, okay, sometimes the music fits a scene, but for the most part, it doesn't. The filming is naff, essentially, and the writing, like, Sellers was an asshole, but given the writing that's on display, I can't entirely blame him for wanting to rewrite some of his scenes. Like, so much of the writing, joke or otherwise, just does not work. And the sad thing is, it's a movie that gives you the idea that maybe it'll have a point. It doesn't. It really, really just gives up, essentially. Like, and again, everything about this movie baffles me, from the movie itself to the making of the movie. Like, I get it, Feldman wanted to make his mark on James Bond, and in a way he did. This movie did gross quite a bit of money, but was it worth it, dude? Like, nowadays, again, unless there's like a cult fan base for this movie that I'm unaware of, it's not regarded positively, and that's by people who even remember it exists. Like, I'll be honest, this commentary is probably the only reason I know that this was properly a thing. Like, if I'd seen it in passing, I probably would have just assumed it's another Bond film, essentially, but not really with any interest to watch it. Like, jeez. And this movie is partly why we had to wait so long to get a proper Casino Royale adaptation. Well, aside from the black and white one. What a mess. What a mess. It's not good. It's the kind of movie I would only watch if it's, well, with the boys to essentially riff the hell out of it. And even still, it gets old. Don't watch this movie. Unless
if you used our commentary tracks, there's a good chance you actually did watch.
Yes.
Okay, let me reiterate. Don't watch this movie unless you have a commentary or some friends to riff on it
And alcohol.
with.
Bring something to drink, for the love of God. Don't make the same mistake I did.
And who knows, maybe that alcohol will help you to see the humor, because I feel like I'm too sober to get any of this.
Maybe that could be like a thing, like, oh my god, what happened to? I watched Casino Royale 67 sober. Oh god.
Alright.
Well, on the plus side, I guess maybe this is as bad as it gets for anything James Bond related.
Pretty much, yes.
Alright.
I have other Bond movies I have issues with, but nowhere near as this.
Like, the one movie I've heard might be worse than this is apparently Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, Quantum of Solace is bad, but I'll still take that over this, definitely, because at least that movie...
Well, it'll be a while before we get to Quantum of Solace anyway, so...
Hopefully next year, assuming we're all still here, we'll have a better April Fool's video. Hope you enjoyed that. So, Dweebs, when we get back to the other regular Bond movies, what will be next?
Next up will be, released in the same year as this film, You Only Live Twice, what was supposed to be Sean Connery's final film in the series.
See you for that.
See ya.
Bye.